Hi, second graders. Today we are going to be working on subtracting across zeros. So this can be kind of challenging and tricky, but just know that you'll get the hang of it eventually. It takes a little while, but you'll get the hang of it. So our math words are the same words we've had all week. I think you could probably tell me exactly what they are with your eyes closed by now. So let's do subtract regroup with zeros. There are 300 parking spaces in a parking lot. 127 spaces are full. How many spaces are left? This is that bar model again, guys. So what you're going to do is you are going to take you're going to draw this bar. Looks like this. It's kind of like a bar magnet, actually, what we learned about earlier this year. So there's our bar model. So there's 300 total spaces. Oh gosh, that got a little crazy. And 127 is parts. So to figure out the other part, we subtract the whole, or we subtract the part from the whole. So we have 300 minus 127. Now let's figure out how to subtract across the zero. So if I have a zero here and I take away 7 and I go next door because I can't take 7 away from 0, and there's another 0, what do I do? Well, this gets really tricky. So instead of just asking your one neighbor, your neighbor's like, I don't have any, but I'll ask my neighbor. So then this neighbor asks their next door neighbor, hey, can I borrow a hundreds block? The hundreds block says yes. The 3 becomes a 2. This 0 becomes a 10. And then this 0 says, finally, I can borrow from you. So now the 0 goes next door, borrows from this 10, and the 10 becomes a 9. So I understand it's kind of confusing and tricky, but you'll get the hang of it. So then it's 10 minus 7 equals 3, 9 minus 2 equals 7, and 2 minus 1 equals 1. So let's test it out. We'll test it out. I know it can be tricky, but we will get the hang of it, I promise. So let's go on to the back side. My little picture always gets in the way. So it says subtract regroup where needed. We want to get into the markup so I can mark up my page. There we go. Oh no, I cut off the guy at the end. Right here, I cut him off. Don't worry, we'll figure it out. I think it's just a 1. So I go to my 0 and oh goodness, I did that again. Okay, I go to my 0 and I circle my 0. And my 0 is like, oh no, I can't take 7 away from myself. So the 0 goes next door and the 0 is like, I don't have anything, so I'll go to my neighbor. So the 7 becomes a 6. This 0 becomes a 10. And now this 0 is like, hey, now I can ask you. You just grew. So then the 0 asks again, hey, can I have a 10 stick? And the 10 sticks are like, oh, yeah, for sure. Now I have plenty. So the 10 becomes a 9. This 0 becomes a 10. So it's 10 minus 7 equals 3. 9 minus 8 equals 1. And 6 minus nothing equals 6. Let's go to the next one. 4 minus 3 equals 1. 0 minus 5 equals, well, we can't take 5 away from this 0. So my 0 goes to my 8, and my 8 becomes a 7. My 0 becomes a 10. My 10 subtract 5 is 5. 7 minus 2 is 5. So 501 minus 342. This 1 right here goes next door. Uh-oh, it's a 0. Can't do that. So the 0 goes to the 5. The 5 becomes a 4. The 0 becomes a 10. And now the 10's like, ask me again, ask me again. So the 1's like, hey, 10, can I have a 10 stick? And the 10's like, yeah, here you go. The 10 becomes a 9. The 1 becomes an 11. 11 minus 2 is 9. 9 minus 4 is 5. 4 minus 3 is 1. On to the next one. 200 minus 38. So I have my friend the 0. The 0 goes to his friend, this 0, and says, hey, can I have a 10 stick? And the 0's like, I don't have anything. So the 0 goes to the 2. The 2's like, sure, here's a hundreds block. So this 10 now has 10 10 sticks. And the 0 is like, oh, no, I can ask you, you got big. So the 0 asks the 10, can I have a 10 stick? And the 10 sticks are like, yeah. The 10 becomes a 9. This 0 becomes a 10. 10 minus 8 equals 2. 9 minus 3 equals 6. And 1 minus nothing is 1. Here we go to number 5. 0 minus 8. Well, the 0 goes next door to the next 0 and is like, hey, can I have a 10 stick? And the 0 is like, I don't have anything. And so the 0 goes to its next door neighbor and says, can I have a hundreds block? The hundreds blocks are like, yeah, here you go. The 7 becomes a 6. The 0 becomes a 10. Now the 10 is like, ask me again, ask me again. This 0 says, hey, can I have a 10 stick? The 10 becomes a 9. This 10 becomes this 0 becomes a 10. 10 minus 8 is 2. 9 minus 2 is 7. And 6 minus 1 is 5. Now try these next two on your own and see how you do. See what we get. So pause it and then press play once you have them finished. Okay, now you should have finished. 6 minus 5. Oh, we don't have to borrow is 1. 0 minus 3. Oh, got to go next door. 5 becomes a 4. The 0 becomes a 10. 10 minus 3 equals 7. 4 minus 1 equals 3. And we have 371. And the last one, 7 minus 8. Ooh, I can't do that. So if there's more on the floor, I go next door. My 0 can't help me. The 0 goes to the 9. The 9 becomes an 8. The 0 becomes a 10. The 10 is like, hey, ask me again, ask me again. The 7's like, hey, can I have a 10 stick? He's like, yeah. The 10 becomes a 9. The 7 becomes a 17. 17 minus 8 equals 9. 9 minus 8 equals 1, and 8 minus nothing equals 8. Okay, let's go down to problem solving. There are 100 math problems on a test. Mark get 17 problems wrong. How many math problems does Mark get correct? So it's that bar model, guys. Here we go. We have this big bar. There's 100 total problems on our bar. 100 problems. He has 17 wrong. We're trying to figure out how many goes here. What number goes here? How many did he have right? So we'll figure it out by subtracting 100 minus 17. The 0 says to the other 0, hey, can I borrow something from you? And he's like, nope, I got nothing. So the 0 goes to the 1. The 1 becomes a 0, but this 0 becomes a 10. The 0 asks again, and the 10 becomes a 9. This 0 becomes a 10. 10 minus 7 equals 3. 9 minus 1 equals 8. And that's all we have, 83 problems. That's pretty good. You got 83 out of 100. Jasmine subtracted 500 minus 252. Is she correct? Explain why or why not. If right, then explain why or why not. Then write the correct difference if needed. So 10. So he went next door. He went next door and it became a 10. Uh-oh, what happened? This 10 needs to become a 9. So what Jasmine did wrong was she went and she borrowed, but then this 10 forgot to ask again, and this 10 didn't become a 9. So what did Jasmine do wrong? She did not borrow correctly. So she did not regroup correctly, because when there's a 0 here and there's a 0 here, this becomes a 4. That's right. This becomes a 10, but then this 0 needs to ask again, and this 10 needs to become a 9. So I hope that helped. I know subtracting across zeros can be challenging at first, but you guys will get the hang of it.